Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I am John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What's the creepiest thing you've ever heard a stranger say to you casually? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I was bringing my niece and nephew, who are half Ojibwa, to the reservation for an event. A stranger pulled me aside and said, "Your brother didn't kill himself," then speed-walked away. He was right. A few months later, they finally deemed my brother's suicide a murder case, and I wholeheartedly believe that man knows who did it, but police cannot find the suspects. They left town. My female friend and I, also female, were young, about 24, and were hitchhiking in Italy, and two guys picked us up. My friend spoke good Italian. Suddenly, my friend said to the driver to stop right away and let us out. I was surprised. After we got out, she told me that she had heard the guys talking about what they were planning to do with us. They didn't realize that she understood them. I was stocking a shelf at my supermarket job, and an old man wearing a suit and hat who looked really pissed off was walking by while talking on his phone. He said, "No, you listen to me. I am El Crocodillo, and when I bite I don't let go." Dude was white as hell, but seemed super serious. I was at my son's soccer tournament this weekend. In between games, we were hanging out under our canopy, which was near a playground. There was a very rambunctious boy about 6 or 7 that kept terrorizing the kids around him. I was watching him for a bit, and he would approach kids with a smile, asking to play. When kids started to play with him, he would begin play fighting. Would turn into him trying to choke the kids until the kid ran away. Then move on to the next kid. While playing with one of the kids, he yelled out, "I'm going to kill you," and then drag you to the street to die more. There was an audible gasp from all the parents. After a little bit, the kid ended up getting bored and wandering off. Back in the 1990s, my roommate and I were helping our very drunk friend make it home safely. We were literally having to hold him upright as he didn't pass out on the sidewalk. While waiting to cross at a red light, some random old guy offered to buy him from us. We thought it was a joke, but the guy whipped out his wallet and started waving a handful of bills around. I was doing temp IT work, hooking up Wi-Fi points in a retirement home. Always had lots of residents talking to me while I worked. I get it, I'm a new person. This very old woman, if not triple digits and close to it, in a wheelchair, is watching me hang the point in the hallway, and just randomly starts talking about how it's pretty hard to get a divorce in the old days, so lots of nightshade and arsenic in the coffee. A widow was more acceptable than divorce. Someone came and wheeled her away for bothering me. I have no idea if she was kidding or senile or what. I mean, she was talking in general and not about herself, I think. 20-year-old guy working at an ice cream shop, and an older late 60s gay fella comes through. He makes a few flirty comments about, "Oh, you gotta be strong scooping that ice cream all day." Then as I'm scooping his cone, he leans in and says, "Oh yeah, pack it in there. I like when they pack it in real tight." Grossed me the f*** out. But I didn't say anything, just rang him up and went on with my day. I mentioned what happened to one of the high school girls working there for the summer, and she goes, "Yeah, so that's basically my whole life." So this is a personal thing. Everyone has their own pet peeves. People, open mouth chewing may drive some people crazy, etc. One thing socially that kind of irks me is like the one-upper, where you were like, "Oh, I only got 2 hours sleep last night," and then someone's like, "Oh yeah, you didn't get sleep? Like I got even less sleep." And it's just like, I'm just telling you I didn't sleep. All right, I'm sure you didn't get a lot of sleep. It wasn't really the point. It's like they just want to instantly make it about themselves. So this guy gets harassed by a dude, explains the situation, and is greeted with, "Welcome to my everyday life." Again, we understand that it's not right for anyone, but now minimizing his experience to glorify your experience, it's just like cheap. Anyway, sorry, just a thought. Have a good day. I worked at a bank, and some guy or client brought up on multiple occasions that one could get a very young prostitute in Cambodia. Very young. Whatever you're imagining him looking like, you're probably not far off. Fat, white, balding, sloppy, perpetually sweaty. You know the type of creep I'm talking about. I was about 6 years old. My mother was looking at clothes while I was in the men's room of a department store. While standing at the urinal doing my business, a grubby-looking man came in and stood at the urinal right next to me. He didn't do anything except stand there, and after what felt like a long time, I was done, and he hoarsely whispered, "I love ripe tomatoes." I zipped up, didn't wash my hands, and hustled out of there. On a streetcar, a jovial stranger had started a conversation with me about the weather, then went on to tell me he'd recently been released from prison. I wasn't too fazed by this until he asked very innocently if I knew whether the courthouse had metal detectors. I told him definitely yes. He thought for a second and, still happy as can be, said, "Where do you think I should leave this then?" and casually moves his jacket aside to show me the gun in his waistband. This is when I panic a bit, but he's honestly asking as if I can help him, and he simply doesn't know. He asked if I would hold onto it for him, which was a big no. He suggested a few other ideas, like wrapping it in a bag and putting it in a trash can to collect later. I did not advise either way, just said something like, "You do you, man." We both got off at the stop in front of the courthouse, and I wished him good luck. My car broke down right off the freeway after I called my boyfriend to pick me up. This man in a pickup truck stopped by my car and approached me saying, "I'm Jesus and I'm here to help you." I was creeped out, but it got worse when he kept offering me a ride and telling me, "I promise I won't hurt you," more than once. I thanked him politely, and as I called my boyfriend again, he knelt down and prayed over my car before he finally left. Only he returned about 10 minutes later, stopped his truck by my open window and said, "I really could have helped you, you know." He finally drove off for good, but I still think about it years later. My oldest talks and walks in her sleep. My house was built in the 1800s. We've lived here for 2 years. One evening, she came out of her room and creepily said, "The little farm boy doesn't want to play." Went to the bathroom and went back to bed. She doesn't remember any of it. Looked up the history of the house. Little boy, mom, and dad died in a house fire and rebuilt the house from the studs up. My house is so old, oak logs run the underside of the foundation. I also have a single-digit house number. Once upon a time when I was a teenager, I was taking the train into the nearest city with some friends just for a little excursion during a weekend or summer break or something. It was a commuter train, so it had the little clusters of seats that face each other, with a table in the middle for people to work on, and my friends and I were clustered around one of those, trying to kill time. At some point, we had the idea to play Never Have I Ever, and the train car was almost completely empty, and I don't think we were being particularly loud, so we weren't overly concerned with being overheard. When it came to one of the girls' turns, she said, "Never have I ever sucked it," which made us all giggle a little because we were children. And just as we were getting ready to move on with the game, we're pulling into the station, and an older man who was sitting at the other end of the car gets up to get off, and as he's walking past us, very casually says, "Never say never, girlies," and then just kept going. Genuinely sent shivers down my spine. Then what about me? Or something along those lines. It was barely a whisper, but I heard it loud and clear. I was 21 working at Whole Foods, and I naturally gravitated toward older folk. One man in particular, not much of a stranger actually, probably in his late 40s or 50s, stood out. He was funny, sharp, and we had great conversations. But over time, the tone started to shift. He began asking more personal questions. Nothing overtly creepy, but still, questions he really shouldn't have been asking. I shrugged it off at first. There was also another guy at work, close in age. I sort of had a crush on him, and this older man knew him. One day I caught them talking across the store, both glancing at me. Later I asked what that was about, and the older man casually told me the guy I liked also had a crush on me. Shit, it made me blush. And I couldn't hide it, and I guess he could tell. Then in the same sentence, he went on to say he'd been thinking sexual thoughts about me, the guy I liked, not the older man. Whether it was true or not, I will never know. I just remember thinking, why would you tell me that? It felt invasive, disgusting even. All that gushy feeling I was feeling then gone. I must have asked him something else, like to clarify what exactly. I don't remember, but I'll never forget his reply. No, because if I tell him, then what about me? From that moment on, I began distancing myself, and when he actually had the nerve to ask why I wasn't talking to him anymore, I just thought, bruh, seriously? Then I moved departments to cashiering. I'd picked up some takeout food at a local strip mall back when I was going to college in LA. I was paused at a crosswalk, waiting to cross the street to where I had parked my car, and then two guys in a pickup truck pulled up alongside me. One of them chucked something at my feet, and I looked down. It was a folded $20 bill. Me being me said, "Hey, I think you dropped something." The light turned green, and the car behind that truck started beeping its horn. The guy then yelled, "Stay right there. We'll go around the block and pick you up." Made the right turn and left. I grabbed the 20 and ran like hell to my car, then got out of there as fast as I could. I was about 19. Still the easiest $20 I ever made. Just had to stand at a crosswalk for a few minutes holding a bag of Thai food. Wow. In the 1990s, my girlfriend's car broke down while we were returning from a night out on the town. We had it towed to her preferred shop, quite a distance from where we lived, and because it was so late, we had to call a taxi to take us home. The taxi driver had long fingernails shaved to quite sharp points, very pale skin, as though he had been avoiding all direct light at all costs, and some fantasy vampire novel on the dashboard. His eyes looked bloodshot, although he didn't seem to be an alternate state. As we drove, the car began to cough and slow down. He leaned forward and stroked the dashboard gently, not patting it, but almost caressing it. "It's okay," he said to the car. "We can do this." He then drove us home in silence. As we were praying for him, upon arrival, he told us, "I promised you we'd get you home safely." He had not promised anything like that. It is probably the only time I really fretted about someone having my address. This isn't creepy, but weird. I did a study abroad program in Florence, Italy in 2003. On the last day, I was just wandering around the city taking in sights. I knew it would be a while before I'd get to see again. As I was walking down a side street near l'Accademia, if I remember correctly, I heard someone behind me say, "Hello, Moto," as in the Motorola commercials. I turned around, expecting to see one of my friends from the program, but the street was empty, except for the little old Italian man who breezed right past. Earlier last month, I stopped to grab a pack of smokes, and a hobo-looking dude was chilling out front of the gas station I pulled into. I'm a chick for reference, got out of my car, and we said greetings, started talking. I interrupted and said I needed to grab smokes, so I asked if he needed anything, water or a sandwich. He said no, he'd just like to bum a smoke. I bought him a pack of American spirits. Anyhow, before I went in, he had started talking about coming from Canada into New York and had been traveling east ever since destination Washington State. So after I gave him his own pack, and he thanked me thoroughly, then he stepped and started talking about all of the dead bodies he's seen, not just animals. He said there was something dark happening, and to be wary. Then I said, "Gotta go, pal." Said safe farewells, and off we went our merry separate ways. Been thinking about, and that convo ever since. This was online, but shortly after Liam Payne's death, I came across a psychic medium on Instagram just via randomly scrolling through my reels, and saw he was trying to talk to Liam via radio transmitter. He barely had any views, likes, and probably less than 15 comments. I'm not someone who's easily believing in mediums, but when I heard Liam's voice, my hair stood up and a cold shiver ran down my spine. It sounded like him, but the voice was uneven and cracky and was so early and eerily slow, almost zombified. He seemed to say some accurate things too, like how he was missing his girlfriend dearly and his son. Nothing that would have incited drama or more views, just regular last words you would hear someone say from the great beyond. I ran to the first few comments, and they were mostly fans who stumbled upon the video like I did, but they said that hearing his voice made them feel at peace. I was so terrified at the voice I heard that I couldn't sleep alone for a few nights. I was in Michigan's Upper Peninsula at a beautiful tourist location called Kitch It Up. And there's the large raft that floats across a big natural spring, and a group of people file on and go across all at once. I was there in July 2015 when Obama was visiting Kenya. Two older gents on the raft were talking about his Kenya trip, and then mused that he ought to be executed when he gets home. They were saying this in broad daylight in front of families and others. It was creepy and classless. Not really a stranger, and didn't happen to me, but my girlfriend got a call from a guy we went to high school with that we haven't seen or talked to or heard from, etc. for 7 years. She and I have been together for 8 years, by the way. This guy was the absolute worst back then. She picked up because, well, the lore. He asks her if she's seeing anyone. She goes, "Yes, you remember me, we're still together and I love him dearly." And he responds with, "Well, if y'all don't work out, we could have kids and always get married and move to Utah." She responds with, "No, and for the record, I don't want kids." His response, "Yeah, but you would want my kids." It's important to note that the last time he saw her in person was when she was 14. This guy's version of her is a freshman in high school. Also, he's Mormon, hence the Utah part. This happened like 3 weeks ago. A patient once put a sticker on my coworker's back that said 9 out of 10. He winked at me and said, "Don't tell her. Love the skirt. -1 for the hair." My coworker was 18, and the man was well into his 50s. I filed a complaint with the manager, who told us to be more strict about boundaries with him, as if we'd done anything to encourage this. This same patient later told me a fun joke about a man getting 3 wishes from a genie in a bottle. The genie says, "Whatever wish I grant you, I'll double and also give to your ex-wife." The final thing the man wished for is to be beat half to death. So the punchline is that the genie beats the ex-wife to death. He was terrible in many ways, and despite creeping everyone out and rudely yelling at several of us, he never got dismissed as a patient. One time I was at a Target with my mom and sister. We were sitting at a table while my mom was online getting coffee from the Starbucks there. My sister got up and was running around a little as kids do, and accidentally ran into this old guy. I have no idea why he would say this, but he sticks his arm out and says, "What? You want to date me?" It still creeps me out because the way he struck his arms out was like he was going to pick her up. I work with a lot of convicts and prisoners in the medical field. One young guy, early 20s, came in after a shootout with the cops. He had beaten his ex-girlfriend to a bloody pulp, then arred her, and gotten into a police chase that ended in gunfire. I went in to provide care one night, and he casually told me he likes lifting cars. I knew what he meant, but didn't want to engage in the conversation, so I didn't say anything. He kept talking and told me he gets a rush from carjacking, and that I don't understand what true power was, until I held a gun to someone's head and saw the fear in their eyes. I usually have no problem separating patients from their crimes. I'm what the courts are for. This was the only time I felt that the world might just be a better place if the cops hadn't missed. Just the thought of this guy on parole is terrifying. You can't cure that kind of sadistic psychopathy. Not really creepy, just cute and embarrassing as hell. I teach taekwondo for a living and most of my students are kids. I heard my name called out in the Starbucks one day and turned to see one of my 5-year-old students with his mom. I said hello and started talking to the mom, but the kid kept staring at me as if memorized somehow. I finally said, "What's up, man, you good?" The kid replied, "I've never seen you wearing clothes before." I was quick to clarify loudly, "I think you mean out of uniform," but it was too late.